Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another video. I am going to provide some feedback here for Laker14, who submitted his swing to /r/golf. One of the things I want to say here to start off is that your swing looks really good, and I think a lot of the things that I am going to go through here today are what I'm going to call more nitpicky. I mean, you're looking for feedback, so I'm going to provide it, but this is a really, really good looking move, and I would say you're definitely on the right track. So let's take a look at this swing here in real time. Appears to be at about half speed slow motion, but a very nice move. One more time. Excellent. So one of the thoughts that I have is your setup looks very, very good. I really wouldn't necessarily look to make any changes here. The one thought that I do see here is just to highlight a little bit of this takeaway. I think maybe you could argue that it is slightly inside your target line. If you pause here at this position, you know, if your foot line is here, and then you note that the ball seems to be going in that direction, then your club is slightly inside of that. And I guess one of the principles that I'm drawing on is kind of the equal and opposite type thing in the golf swing, meaning if you take the club inside in the takeaway, there's a bit of a tendency to reroute it. You know, so if you're coming in this way, then you'll kind of reroute it outside on the downswing. So then vice versa, it might feel a little bit like a Jim Furyk or a Matthew Wolff, where you take the club up quickly, and then that gives you more space to kind of lay it down in transition. So just something to think about is to really ride the hands a little bit longer, as far as keeping the club maybe more on this line, so it's matching your target line here at this parallel position. One drill that you might want to work on is, you know, so we'll set up to the golf club here, and you're going to need to adjust your setup a little bit, but take an alignment stick and hold the alignment stick in your hand so it's sticking out like this, and it would actually be on off your left hip. So you're going to have to start with more forward press than you normally would, and that's fine. And then as you kind of slowly take the club away, you want the stick to be riding along your hip, your thigh here. So what you don't want is if your hands turn in too quickly to take the club inside, then the stick will be pushing out this way and this way and this way. So you want to ride the stick so that the stick is coming down, you know, riding along your thigh, and then at some point you obviously break away, and then the club starts to come up more vertically with your wrist set. So again, the idea is it gives you a visual reference and feedback, and it's kind of a little bit of an exaggeration, right? At that point, the club will probably be outside of your hands, which is fine. You know, it's meant to be a little bit of an exaggeration in a drill. So I will provide a Instagram video from Dan Carahar to show that drill. It's an excellent drill. And then you can also use it coming down to help make sure that the hands are leading, and that you're not flipping through impact. So it's an excellent drill overall. Let's continue up. Things look really good here as you get up to the top. Now, from this position, I really like that you stop here and you don't get too long. From here, I really do, you know, let's track a little bit of where the hands are and then where the club is. So I'm going to use the yellow line to indicate where I think the club is, and I'm going to use the blue line to indicate where the hands are. Okay, so then take a couple frames forward. Let's track it to here. Now the club head is moved this way, and then the hands have basically moved straight down. Let's continue. Hands are here. Club head is out here. Continue a bit more. Not too far. Okay, let's go to about here. Very good. Now, to me, this is a pretty good example of shallowing, meaning that the club face is actually working out. I'm going to use a different color. So the club face, you can see, is working out in this direction while the hands are moving in this direction. That is, I think, one of the ways to define shallowing. Also, another way to look at it is if you kind of would, about this point, so I kind of use a reference point to be where the club is about its shoulder height. So you're kind of position, 5.5? You want the shaft to be pointing kind of down towards the golf ball, which is perfect. So I think there's some really good indicators here that you're on the right track as far as your shallowing goes. One of the thoughts that I would also add on top of it is, with one of the things that you can also think about here is the position of the club face relative to the golf ball and your path. So having the club face be kind of toe up at this point is totally fine. One of the things that you might want to experiment with is adding what I kind of is referred to as a motorcycle movement. So if you take your wrist, and typically a motorcycle will do that with his right wrist, and if you just do that, like if you're going to rev the gas on a motorcycle, we actually want to do that with your left hand, right? So what that would look like here in this position is that your left hand, so if this is flat, would actually start to bow a little bit, like, kind of in this direction. And what that will do is it will rotate the grip, shutting the club face. Okay, so the idea is that the more that the club lays down, that kind of acts to open the club face. Furthermore, the shallower you get, the more you really need to use your body to turn in this manner to open, which also will open the club face. Okay, so those two things are working to cause the club face to open. You can counterbalance that with this motorcycle movement to help close the club face. Now, in my experience, this is something that feels very, very odd and drastic, when in reality, you just need a touch of it, just even a tiny little bit to help you make sure that the face is closed. And then, then really you're just powering the swing from here by rotating your body. So just a couple of little thoughts, all of this pertaining to things that you do in the transition. So, and I guess one last thing I would mention is with that motorcycle movement, when you choose to do it is very personal, right? If you look at a swing like Dustin Johnson or John Rahm or Lee Trevino, these are guys that start motorcycling like here at takeaway. Or even like at this from takeaway to the top of the swing, right? So they get to the top and their wrists are completely bowed like that. And the club face is, instead of being on this angle, it's like straight up to the sky, very closed. Whereas there are other players, like Justin Thomas maybe, or Jordan Spieth perhaps, that tend to delay it a little bit and have more of that wrist kind of bowing and shutting in the transition from the top into the downswing. Or even players that, so about at this point is when they start to introduce that movement. So just something to think about. I think you've got a lot of good things going on here. The shaft is moving in a nice direction. And I think some good tidbits to work on. Again, a lot of this is what I'm mentioning is very kind of nitpicky, but asking for feedback, this is what I would provide, but certainly on the right track and have a very good golf swing. So please let me know your thoughts down below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks. Bye.